Welcome back to Boilers and Beyond. I'm Jordan Jones. It really felt like the longest bye week that I can remember. However, Purdue returns to action on Saturday at Ross-Ade Stadium against the Hawkeyes of Iowa. Today on the show, we will preview Purdue's matchup with their most hated rivals in a game that Purdue must win if it wants to remain alive in the Big Ten West race. Although, hey, it is very easy to forget. Purdue still controls its own destiny in the Big Ten West. If they win out, they go to Indianapolis. We'll get you prepared for Saturday's kickoff. Let's get into it. Real quick, if you don't, follow the show on Twitter at Boilers Beyond. More important now than ever, we're in November. It's November 1st as I record this. That means it's the month where football and basketball overlap like crazy. So much to talk about in the world of Purdue sports. So be sure, follow along on Twitter for everything there. And subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Again, so much going on right now. If you haven't listened to it yet, Monday morning posted the Purdue basketball preview episode. I'm recording this Tuesday night. Tomorrow night, Wednesday, Purdue hosts Truman State in the exhibition. And a week from tonight, next Tuesday, the official season tips off when Purdue hosts Wisconsin-Milwaukee. So a lot going on right now. Be sure to subscribe so that you don't miss episodes about any of the action. But the reason we're here today, Purdue versus Iowa. Saturday, going to be a noon Eastern kickoff on FS1. Purdue's first home noon game of the season, and only their second in the last 2 years. Purdue opened up on Sunday as a 7-point favorite at Circa. That was crazy to me. I tweeted about that, and just as I tried to get my mind wrapped around that, the line had already dropped to 3.5, and that's kind of where it's sitting at this point. Purdue about a 3.5-point favorite. That point total, it's an Iowa game. It's not supposed to be a shootout. Point total sitting in the low 40s right now for Purdue and Iowa. Early weather looking okay in the temperature-wise. Unusually warm for November in West Lafayette. Looking like it's going to flirt with 70 degrees. However, there is a chance for some rain. Jeff Brom talked on his radio show tonight, said that the team's been practicing with wet footballs, getting ready for the potential of dealing with some rain on Saturday at Ross-Ade. We will keep an eye on the forecast as we get closer to Saturday, of course. Purdue really would like it to be dry because their record in rain games, not all that good. However, their record in games against Iowa under Jeff Brom is pretty good. Purdue is 4-1 against Iowa over the past 5 years under Jeff Brom. That only loss coming in the middle back in 2019 when Purdue was beaten up pretty good, went up to Iowa City, got beat up there. Past that, some really big wins for Purdue. You know, they pulled off the upset in Kinnick in 2017 to keep their bowl hopes alive, and they ended up cashing in. Had a dramatic win in 2018. Kind of same with 2020 in the season opener and during the COVID season. And then last year, of course, when Iowa was the most overrated number 2 team in the country ever, Purdue nonetheless went over there and pulled off the upset rather easily. I don't know that it's going to come that easily tomorrow, or on Saturday, I guess, not tomorrow, but we shall see. A little bit about the Hawkeyes, and you want to talk about an interesting season. It hasn't been what Iowa fans hoped. They come in at 4-4, just 2-3 in Big Ten play. Their season didn't get off to a good start. A 7-3 win over South Dakota State thrilled everybody. Iowa got to 7 off of 2 safeties and a field goal. Just a bizarre game. Not good. their offense has really struggled. They're only scoring 16 points per game. They were dead last in the nation in scoring before their offensive outburst against Northwestern last week. They put up 33 against the Wildcats. But that offense has really struggled. And what makes it all the more frustrating for Iowa fans is that the defense is absolutely elite. It's one of the nation's best. They allow just 15 points a game. It is a really, really good defense. They are downright nasty. But that offense just hasn't been able to get going this year. In all of the conversation around that Hawkeye offense, it's all about Brian Ferentz, the son of Kirk Ferentz. He's the offensive coordinator and play caller for Iowa. And look, there have been so many podcasts, so many articles written about it. It's not worth going deep into, but, there are plenty of concerns that this is just brazen nepotism that has led to Brian Ferentz being the offensive coordinator and retaining that position as they continue to struggle. The offense over time has gotten worse with him. He took over a few years back, and they had a decent offense at one point. That 2020 team, the 2019 team, those were decent teams. They had some speed at receiver. They had Goodson, the pretty good running back. They haven't been able to replicate it this year. Last year wasn't always the best either. It's been a problem, but Brian Ferentz is still there, and he will be there on Saturday when Purdue plays Iowa. Also there will be Spencer Petras, the quarterback who has really struggled. Purdue feasted on him last season, really had a nice day. I think they picked off 4 of his passes on the season. He's hitting just 55%, 151 yards per game, and a lousy 3 touchdown to 5 pick ratio. That's really bad. Part of it's unfortunate with Spencer Petras. This isn't an Iowa offense that asks the quarterback to do a whole heck of a lot, but he's really struggled doing what they ask him to do, almost to the point where at times you think it's unfair that they keep sending him out there, that they're not putting him in a good position. The run game that Iowa relies on so much hasn't been very good. When you think of Iowa football, you think of that power running game behind a big offensive line, but they're getting just 2.9 yards per carry, only 93 yards per game on the ground. Those are Purdue numbers from the last few years when they've been dead last in the Big Ten. Really not a good rushing attack for Iowa, and they have a weird combination. It's a young offensive line, which you so rarely see at Iowa to begin with, and their running backs are very young. You've got Caleb Johnson and LaShawn Williams. That's a freshman and a sophomore that are splitting carries for you, and they both do have some potential. They've shown flashes of real promise. I think it was Caleb Johnson, maybe. One of the two had a really nice game last weekend with 7 yards per carry against Northwestern. But it's not just the 4 yards in a cloud of dust that Iowa so often has been. It's not a situation where you feel good about running it on 3rd and 3 if you're Iowa, when forever that's been their go-to. It's just weird to see, and as a whole, it's caused their offense to really struggle. They're putting up just, 250 yards per game or so total on offense? That's just not good. Their receivers aren't good. When they had that success a few years back, they had guys like Brandon Smith and Amir Smith-Marset, guys who could go make plays at receiver. Now, not really. They do have a good tight end. Sam Laporta is a very good tight end, and that's a lineage there. TJ Hawkinson, Noah Fant, guys who, George Kittle, guys who have been really good tight ends out of Iowa, but outside of Laporta, not real great. And of course, the receiver position is going to be the storyline in general coming into this game. Iowa fans were okay when Tyrone Tracy went into the portal and came to Purdue, but with how late Charlie Jones went into the portal and kind of knew he was coming to Purdue right away, I know the relationship with Aiden O'Connell played very strongly there. That really got Iowa fans fired up. Iowa coaches and Purdue coaches have been a little bit chippy with each other over the past few years, so that's going to be your big storyline. Charlie Jones and Tyrone Tracy playing against their former team, and it really just, Iowa doesn't have big playmaking receivers. Nico Reganey has been around forever. He's still there. He's their leading receiver out of their wideouts. It's just not a good receiving core. And when you don't have a great quarterback, your receivers aren't all that good, it's tough. It's just a tough situation there on offense in Iowa. On the other side of the ball, though, as I said, this Iowa defense is unbelievable. They force turnovers at such a strong rate. And in general, turnover luck isn't sustainable in college football, but Iowa, they seem to do it every year. They allow just 2.6 yards per carry. They allow just 5 yards per attempt passing. That's a heck of a stat. That's incredible. That's concerning for Purdue because they're really going to make you beat them underneath. See how well Purdue does with that. You know, they just allow 16 points per game. Only one opponent has gotten over 14. That was Ohio State. So every opponent that's not Ohio State has been held to 14 points or less. And when you consider the fact that Iowa's offense puts their defense in a lot of bad positions, even more impressive. They have some star power. Jack Campbell is one of the best linebackers in the country. Riley Moss, absolutely elite at corner. They have a really, really good defense. Phil Parker does a fantastic job with that group year in and year out. And their special teams is excellent too. Their field goal kicker's 11 for 12 on the season. I think he's a freshman. And Torrey Taylor at punter, he might be the best in the nation. He's spectacular. And it's just Iowa. They do those small things really, really well year in and year out. And that's why they're always a contender. That's why they're always someone you should worry about. You know, I've gotten the sense around Purdue fans that they almost expect to win this game easily. I don't think you can ever say that about Iowa. I know Purdue's had success against them. I know it's at home. I know Iowa's not looked great, but man, they're just so consistent and they're so good at the little things, some little things that Purdue hasn't been so good at, that, man, I don't know. I think Purdue fans are almost overlooking Iowa. And I think part of what goes into me not feeling so great is the injury report because, the secondary is in trouble. Corey Trice and Jamari Brown had not practiced yet as of Jeff Brom's press conference on Monday. Both of those guys were hurt at Wisconsin, so they didn't practice at all during the bye week. Now, it's possible they play. We don't know what they've done at practice yet this week. Jeff Brom may be able to talk a little more about that Thursday evening after their last practice of the week. Purdue really needs them to play. Brom mentioned that they've had to move some players to corner, that they've had to experiment with an offensive player at corner just because of how thin that position is getting. I don't know that we're going to see Chris Jefferson again. He's been out indefinitely since the Maryland game, I believe. That sounds right. I don't think he played against Nebraska or Wisconsin. So I don't know if we're going to see him again. That really thins out the group. That really, really thins it out. But you look more on defense too. Kydron Jenkins, his status is in doubt. He was injured against Wisconsin. Kyron Douglas hasn't really been healthy all season. It's a banged up group. You look at what happened against Wisconsin. I mean, you had Camden Childers out there. You had Javon Grigsby out there. Man, you just got to get ready to go. Reese Taylor is going to have to be ready. Bryce Hampton, Sanusi Kane. A lot of guys going to have to step up and play big roles. On the other side of the ball, Charlie Jones and Payne Durham have been so beat up. They haven't missed games, but they've been beat up. Hopefully the week off really helped them rest. It doesn't sound like we're going to see Brock Thompson. I don't know when we're going to see him. You almost wonder at this point if we're going to see him. T. Denson, Brom kind of indicated that he may not play this year, the corner from Kansas State. Ben Furtney at fullback is going to be out. He's been in some short yardage situations this year. He hopped off the field in Madison, didn't come back in. And Brom mentioned that Tristan Cox, a former linebacker, has been moved to fullback in Furtney's absence. So, to make a long story short, Purdue has a lot of guys injured, a lot of guys in doubt ahead of this game. And as you look at 3 keys for this game, Jeff Brom talked about this on the radio show tonight, and it's my number 1 key, and that's getting out to an early lead. It's just like Wisconsin. Against Iowa, if you're trying to overcome a deficit, it gets really, really hard. Now, they're a little bit more mistake prone on offense, sure, but that defense is not fun to come from behind against. We saw what happened 2 weeks ago when Purdue went down 7-0. It felt like right away there was pressure on the offense, and when that pick 6 happened, the game was over. The game was over 4 minutes into the game at Camp Randall. I think if Purdue can get out to an early lead, you really have to wonder if Iowa can fight back. With that offense, with how hard it is for them to score and how bad they are at scoring touchdowns in the red zone, boy, if you can get out to a 10-point lead, I think you feel pretty good about where you're at. The hard part is getting those points on the board. I think number 2, the turnover battle is so important here. That's been such a key in Purdue's wins over Iowa over the years under Jeff Brom, particularly last year. Purdue feasted on Spencer Petras. Purdue got up, and they made Spencer Petras drop back and throw the ball, and they got some turnovers off that. Now, it's important because Iowa's defense forces them incredibly well. Schematically, it's going to be a little bit different than Wisconsin's defense. They're going to play more one-on-one on the outside. Wisconsin goes with a whole lot of zone. Iowa's going to play a lot more man, but man, that personnel that they have on the outside and in that secondary, it's going to give Purdue some fits. O'Connell was really good against them last year. He doesn't have David Bell, though. That's the big key. Riley Moss I would think he'll get Charlie Jones. We'll see what happens there. We'll see if other guys can emerge. But Purdue has to win the turnover battle here. You have to find ways to make Spencer Petras uncomfortable. You know what happens when you get him uncomfortable. And you need Aiden O'Connell to be back at his best. He was not against Wisconsin. You need him to be there against Iowa. And number 3, it's on the defense, and man, with the secondary questions, it makes me worry, but you just can't give up big plays. You saw what happened against Wisconsin and Nebraska. Those explosive plays just kill you. They take wind out of your sails. Even Iowa's offense is capable of hitting big plays if Purdue's secondary can't tackle or if you have receivers wide open. Purdue has to keep everything in front of them. On the ground, you need your linebackers to make tackles when they fill in the gaps. You don't want ball carriers getting into that third level. Problems happen when the ball carriers get to that third level. We saw it with all the big plays against Wisconsin. Just not good. If you can make Iowa string plays together, go 10 plays, go 12 plays, go 15 plays, they're going to beat themselves. They'll commit a holding penalty. They'll throw incomplete passes. They'll get tackled for a loss. I mean, that's what'll happen against this year's Iowa team. But if you gift them things, they're going to get you. I've thought about this prediction quite a bit because you wonder if that loss against Wisconsin was a blip in the radar or if it was a sign of things to come. This November is really big for Purdue. This November could be a November to remember, as Tim Newton said on the radio show tonight, or it can be one of the more disappointing months in recent Purdue memory. You enter it in a good spot. If you win out, you win the Big Ten West for the first time in program history. You have 2 really tough games in a row here, and you have a lot of players hurt. The vibes were not great coming out of that Wisconsin game. I'm going to give Purdue the benefit of the doubt here. I'll go 23-20, but I don't have a good feeling about where this team is. I don't have a good feeling about this game. If it rains on Saturday, I don't have a good feeling there. Just all around, I have concerns here. We'll see what happens. I think, man, if Purdue doesn't have Corey Trice and Jamari Brown, it gets tough. But I'll give Purdue the benefit of the doubt. I think they can find a way to pull it out at home. It's a sold-out crowd. Purdue's fans have been really, really good this year. I'll give Purdue the nod, but I don't feel good about it either way. We'll see how this one goes. Our Q&A here. Thank you to everybody who sent in questions on Twitter. Remember, that's at Boilers Beyond. Send over questions anytime, and we'll get to them on the podcast. Had one, is Devin Mockabee going to get more involved in the pass game on Saturday? And I think certainly maybe. I think he's done a nice job in the pass game this year. You know, I remember Jeff Brom after Florida Atlantic talking about how Devin Mockabee had a nice day when he caught 4 passes, saying that it's not a big part of his game, not something he does particularly well. I think Maccabees looked good in the pass game this season. I think especially on Saturday against Iowa's defense, if they're taking away things down the field, you may need the running backs to get more involved. And we know exactly where Purdue's run game is at this point. They're going to ride Devin Mockabee over and over again because he's proven to be the best back on this team and the best back Purdue has had in a while. So I do think Devin Mockabee gets more involved in the pass game on Saturday. Can Iowa's lack of an offense build some confidence for Purdue's defense, or will Purdue make Spencer Petras look like Dan Marino? Look, if I'm making a prediction about this, I want to know who's playing in the secondary, because if it's going to be slim pickings, you really worry about guys just being completely wide open. We saw it against Wisconsin a number of times, and it just can't happen. Even Spencer Petras will hit wide open receivers if they're there. Now, I think Purdue's run defense, which has been largely good. It wasn't good against Wisconsin, but it's been largely good. Iowa's rushing offense hasn't been that good. I think you can do a nice job there, but man, as a whole, I don't know about making Spencer Petras look like Dan Marino, but I think they can make him look like a game manager that just you ride to victory the way Wisconsin did with Graham Mertz. I had a question here, too. If Purdue can fix its issues on defense, with a healthy secondary, I think they might be able to. But without it, I don't know. I have my doubts. More secondary questions here. Race Johnson, a former Purdue football player, had a legendary blocked punt at Wisconsin in 2017. Tweeted to the show, what's the biggest problem in the secondary? I think tackling has been a massive issue in the back end all season. There have been a whole lot of missed tackles back there, particularly at the safety position. You saw it in the first half of that Penn State game. They had that long drive, well, long in terms of distance, not of time, where they scored a cheap touchdown before the half because Purdue couldn't tackle. I think at safety, there have been problems in both coverage and tackling. Cam Allen hasn't had a good year. There have been a number of blown coverages. Purdue's allowed the most explosive pass plays in the Big Ten. That's not a good stat. That reflects poorly on your safeties. I think Corey Trice has largely been pretty good, but I think that second outside corner spot, you've lacked some consistency there. Jamari Brown, Reese Taylor, they've kind of gone back and forth there, but it hasn't been all that consistent. Had one, too. What young guys need to step up and play bigger roles in the secondary? He's not young. Bryce Hampton's a sixth-year senior, Division II transfer from Adams State, but I think he's going to play his biggest role of the season coming up this weekend. And in terms of young guys, I don't know if Brandon Callaway is healthy or not, but if he is, you'd like to see him maybe get out there. We saw Javon Grigsby a little bit at Wisconsin. He's a safety. He may need to play a bigger role if Trice and Brown are out. Sanusi Kane, he started a number of games this year, but if Trice and Brown are out, he may need to slide to corner, where he excelled in the Music City Bowl and really was thrown to the wolves there. And considering that, he excelled. So we'll see what happens in the secondary, but man, just tough to feel great about a lot of it. Can Purdue's offense have a great day against the Iowa defense? A great day? I don't think so. Maybe, but a great day is a big ask. This is a really, really good Iowa defense, and this Purdue offense has been largely inconsistent. At times, they've looked really good, but at times they've really struggled. They've gone into these scoring lulls, and they've been turnover prone a little bit more than you would like. They're going to make Aiden O'Connell try to beat them consistently underneath. And a lot of teams have employed that strategy. It's worked a little bit. I want to know how healthy Charlie Jones is. Is Riley Moss going to shut him down? Or is Jones going to have a productive day? How healthy is Payne Durham? How well can you run the ball against a really good Iowa defense? All of these are questions. So a great day on offense, I'm probably going to go no. A good day, I think that's possible. But a great day, I don't know. And then finally, it's November. It's the last month of the year. Where does Purdue finish in the Big Ten West? If I had to predict here, and I know I'm just kind of following the point spreads, but I'm going to say Purdue finishes 3-1. They finish in a tie for second in the Big Ten West with Wisconsin, both at 5-3. That'd be 6-3 in Big Ten play. That's my guess. I'm going to guess that Illinois goes to Indianapolis and Purdue finishes tied for second in the West. But I'll probably be wrong there. We'll see how things go. But again, if you didn't check out that basketball preview episode, be sure to check it out. A lot of stuff to get you ready because basketball season is here. It is November, but that's all I have for today. We'll be back Sunday with thoughts from Purdue versus Iowa, maybe a stray basketball thought or two in there, but there will be plenty of basketball thoughts on Twitter at Boilers Beyond, so be sure to follow there. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts so that you don't miss the Iowa post-game reaction show. And if you have any questions for future shows, feel free to tweet them at me. Safe travels to those of you coming into West Lafayette for the game this weekend. And until next time, enjoy the game and take care.